It's the oldest war in the home services industry. Marketing says we're generating record lead volume, everybody. Thank you, thank you. But the sales team, shoot, they can't close a door. And the sales team says we could close the deals if marketing would stop sending us these absolute garbage leads.
Yeah, look, and stuck in the middle of that cats and dogs argument is an owner watching their profit margins evaporate while two departments point fingers at each other. Look, when sales and marketing are disconnected, it doesn't matter how good your product is. You are simply burning money on ads and really burning out your best people. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fitz and Franson Show. I'm Fitz.
And I'm Franson.
And this is the show where we talk about leadership, business, growth, and what it actually takes to build something that lasts without lying yourself along the way.
Yep. And you guys know by now, we're not here for hype. We're here for the clarity. Because chaos is normal in business. We all know that. But staying there is really a choice.
Absolutely. Truth be told, Jay, we might be the worst hype guys on the planet.
Right. Yeah. I'm like the Labrador. My happy face, my sad face, my angry face.
There you go.
So today we're going to talk about something that Fitz and I love to talk about, and that's the blame game. Sales and marketing are at odds more often than we'd like to admit. So we're going to do our best to break down why this disconnect can happen in most growing companies out there, and how to determine if you actually have a lead quality problem or a sales execution problem. And then we'll cover the specific metrics that force both sides to take accountability.
There's tension that's created here, and a lot of companies go through this.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth be told is that both sides are a little bit right? And the reason for that is both sides are heavily incentivized to blame the other, unfortunately, based off of the way comp plans are set up. So a sales rep on a one-call close cycle, they got a hard job, right? They're driving an hour or more to a house and sitting at a kitchen table and trying to ask for $15,000. Look, in this case, and if the homeowner isn't qualified, the rep feels like it was a waste of their time, or even worse, they feel like marketing maybe even disrespected their time. Yeah.
And we've had plenty of these conversations. You guys sent me out to a trailer park. That's not our customer. And really, the marketing side isn't making those trips. And so we're looking for the data. We see that the lead came from a high intent Google search. We see that they filled out a long form questionnaire. They even confirmed their budget. And then the sales rep dispositioned the lead as not interested after being in the house for 12 minutes. So of course, marketing can get a little bit defensive. I mean, we did our job.
Yeah. Marketing is always a little defensive, I feel like. But look, I think the problem really, though, is a lack of what maybe would be like a shared definition. Like, what is actually a good or qualified lead in our world, right? So to marketing, I think a good lead is someone who filled out the form and lives in the service area. At least that might be how a sales rep sees it at times. And to a sales rep, a good lead is someone standing in the driveway with maybe a checkbook in their hand, and they're really just waiting for you to arrive to place their order. So if the owner doesn't force a shared definition, that war between, the cats and the dogs there is never going to end.
Yeah. And it's worth noting that you can both be speaking English, but saying completely different things. Mm-hmm. I think about Chris Rock, and he says, "Are you not hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth?"
That's right.
Super, funny how he presented it. But I think it's a great observation you made, Fitz, is let's define the words that are being used. Mm-hmm. So, and what we found is this can get worse as the company grows. I've seen it a lot of times where, when you have one or two reps, the owner has the bandwidth to monitor the leads. In fact, all of the leads. But when you get up to 3, 4, 5, 10 reps, the data starts to get muddy, and you start to have, maybe your underperforming rep hiding behind the excuse of, well, they're just bad leads, to cover up their terrible close rates. And then the marketing agency might hide behind high lead volume to cover up their terrible targeting. So here's my hot take, Fitz. If you're a marketing agency, or if your marketing partner is only reporting on cost per lead, and they refuse to look at your cost per issued appointment or cost per sale, I would fire them. To be honest, they don't care about your business. They only care about their spreadsheet. And if they can say, oh, we're getting you leads for $20, that $20 lead is worthless if it never turns into a contract.
Yeah, look, having been on those conversations where we had
Hmm.
marketing agencies and obviously you and I had those conversations when
Hmm.
we were a dealer and using you guys.
Yep.
Leads, clicks, those things are great because they should turn into other things, but that's the start of the funnel, right? So like you got to force
Hmm.
your agencies and your partners to have those conversations that go from the start to what it actually ended up on the bottom line. If you're not doing that, they're missing a mark. And like you said, too
Yep.
many of them will hide behind that stuff. So look, Jay, I'll give you the sales end of the hot take, so to speak, right? If a rep complains about lead quality, but they're not following the structured sales process you put in place, if they're rushing to the price or they're skipping maybe like those discovery questions that we know are so important, to be quite frank, they lose the right to complain, right? You can't blame the lead if you didn't run the play the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've heard stories of the sales team where, they record a call or do a ride along and then figure out one or two steps somewhere along the way started getting skipped. So
Mhm.
really the worst thing an owner can do is change the marketing strategy based on the complaints of a lazy sales rep. You end up chasing your tail, turning off profitable campaigns because a guy who refuses to practice his pitch had a bad week.
Hmm. All right, so Jay, done hundreds of audits on marketing campaigns for different companies that are out
Hmm.
there, and those companies that ask you to do so, they're convinced that their leads are garbage, I guess, right,
Yep.
or just not worthwhile.
Mm.
So, can you tell me about a time where maybe you dug into the data and had the opportunity maybe to prove that marketing was actually working, but the execution was what was failing?
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna give a short story here that's the details are kind of masked, but yeah, we had a client who wanted to shut off literally all their paid search. The sales manager came to us and swore that the leads were tire kickers; they're all bad. We went in and listened to what was going on. Hey, what's your call scripting? How's your team handling? What's your CSR doing? And these leads were coming and literally saying, "Hey, my roof's leaking. I owe the insurance check. Can someone come out today?" And the call center rep, they're over here saying, "Well, we don't have, anything until next Thursday. And just so you know, there's a $99 dispatch fee." And these leads weren't even bad. The speed to lead and the booking script were atrocious. Like,
Mm,
next week, what?
yeah.
And, we helped them address the call center script. And all of a sudden, you're seeing these bad leads start closing at 35%. Sales team never even saw the good leads because the front desk was killing them before they got on the calendar.
Yeah, unfortunately, I see this probably too often. I wouldn't say it's like every time, but it's often. So I think what's important is maybe like a reframe. So I think the
Hmm.
reframe here is that that marketing and sales are not, they're not two different departments. Even though maybe in an org chart they look that way, you got to start thinking
Yeah.
about it as we've used like an engine or a car analogy in the past, right? So marketing and sales are two halves of the exact same revenue engine, and if the engine is sputtering, a mechanic doesn't just blame like the left side or the right side. They look at like what the connection point is to find out where that breakdown is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a real simple book out there, and actually the name evades me. Our listeners will probably remember it right away. The author just explains your business as an airplane, and he says sales and marketing are the left wing and the right wing. And the plane can't fly if you don't have both of those wings working.
Yeah,
And they are part of that bigger goal. So, that connection point between the two ends up being that feedback loop that both of them need. Marketing needs the disposition data from the house to optimize the campaigns. If a rep goes to a house and the lead is terrible, the rep needs to write detailed notes in the CRM, renter, not the owner, or thought we did repairs, not full replacements. This data tells the marketing team how to refine their messaging, their ad copy, their images, how to handle the inbound or the outbound appointment setting script. Like, all of this stuff helps the marketing team know how to better build that system.
sure. Look, here's the one thing I'll interject with this, Jay, because I've dealt with this. My last organization, I was in charge of marketing and sales, trying not to screw up both at the same time, right? When it came to results, right? Like one of the things that sales managers are always chasing is like, you didn't enter your result. And the rep maybe doesn't understand that that's important. Like we make real time marketing decisions off of the feedback that you're giving us. And here's the big
Mhm.
if as the caveat, it's factual.
Yeah.
I'm a sales rep at heart, and I know that we are emotional beings, and you just drove 2 hours somewhere and it wasn't necessarily as well buttoned up as it could have been, or the bow wasn't tied, or like I said earlier, they weren't standing in the driveway with a checkbook, right? You have to take your emotion out of those results because emotion is going to cloud fact, and fact is what we need to make really good decisions that help put everybody in position to win on a regular basis. So if you're not,
Mhm.
if you're in that emotional state, take a breath, take a drink of water, whatever it is, and alleviate that emotion so that you can factually put stuff in. Yes, they were a renter, but did they have like the owner on the phone with them that was there? Like, is that the
Mhm.
best of things? No, but
Yeah.
did marketing do what they were supposed to do and get you as close to an opportunity as they possibly can? For sure. We used to start
Yeah.
our trainings with like the understanding of what each person's role was or what each half of the engine's role was. Marketing's job is to get us to the door and have it open. Our job
Yep.
is to close it from there. And if, as long as there's nothing factually standing in the way of that, then it's a good thing,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
to kind of tie it together and bring it back to like somebody's got to be the voice of reason, right? That's where leadership
Mhm.
comes in this, right? So the owner or the
Yeah.
manager has to enforce that feedback loop, make sure that you're on top of it. You have to create a culture where marketing sits in on sales meetings, for example, and the sales manager gets a chance to look at the marketing dashboard. They really, if I could stress this in any way, they have to share the same goals, right? We talk
Yeah.
about cost per acquisition a lot. That's a really
Mhm.
unified number between sales and marketing.
Mhm.
So maybe it's less of the, direct focus on just the lead volume or from a sales perspective, just the close rate. But when we can make that cost per acquisition kind of the team goal, the carrot at the end of the stick for both sides of the departments, then we're doing the things the right way.
And I think the big takeaway is that you get both sides measured by the same metric ultimately.
Hmm.
The finger pointing can stop because you're both chasing the same goal. Marketing realizes that generating 50 unqualified leads hurts their CPA, so they
Hmm.
focus on quality. And sales realizes that burning a good lead hurts the CPA, so they focus on their presentation.
Yeah. So look, if we try to give actionable things and help you, take something away that's going to be something you can put in your business right away. So here's how maybe we can help you stop the blame game that might be happening in your company and do so this week. Right. So step one, define what a good or quality lead looks like. So get the sales manager and the marketing manager in a room and write it down. Write down the exact
Yeah.
criteria that makes a lead qualified. What does it take for us to send a rep to this home? And once it's on paper, both sides need to be held to that standard.
Yeah. And if you're, a position like Fitz was where he was in charge of both, like you said earlier, Fitz, kind of put the emotions to the side and make sure you're paying attention to the bigger goal and don't let opinions get in the way of what that is. Yeah, that's good. So step two, this one's tough for some people that like to just be in the field and doing the work, but enforce the CRM cleanliness, enforce the
Mm.
dispositions. If data's not clean, if it's muddy, what are you going to do with it? So if a sales rep doesn't put in detailed notes in the CRM after an appointment, this sounds harsh, but don't get them another lead tomorrow. Like, and set that standard pretty high. Say, we can't help you if you're not helping us. Marketing literally needs that data to survive.
Yeah, I will piggyback on this one a little bit. The making sure they understand the importance of the dispo. Like we're reading them, we're looking at them, and we're using that
Hmm.
as actual data or feedback to make really good decisions for the thing that you want, which is more leads and better opportunities. And if I don't get it from you, then how
Yeah.
in any, good conscience can I continue to give you leads until we get that stuff? Yeah, I can't spend money in the wrong direction, any longer than I should. So without it, I can't make decisions. Right. So,
Yeah.
step three, implement a weekly, maybe call it a bridge meeting or like a forced hug between marketing and sales, right? Meeting. Okay. It only needs to really be like 30 minutes, right? Maybe it's a meeting that you have every Friday or Monday to talk about what happened the week before. But this is an opportunity where marketing gets to show what campaigns maybe they're launching and the messaging they're going to be sending out. And then also sales gets to give feedback on what they're hearing and seeing in the home in the field that previous week. That feedback loop is really important. And again, we're all here for the same goal. Right? This shouldn't be a fight or two sides pointed across the room at each other. It should
Yeah.
be a discussion about like what's coming and how can we do it better. And we're all in the same on the same team.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have ours set as a 10-minute standing meeting. Like, once you get into that weekly cadence, it doesn't need to be 30 minutes. This is what we're doing. What are you guys doing? And align the language, align the promotion, align the excitement around what's coming up. And so, really, what you get is you get an alignment between sales and marketing. And at this point, your business starts to maybe even feel like unstoppable.
No doubt. Look, I think those three things they seem very simple, right, at their core. The consistency
Hmm.
in them has to be important. And then the ground rules have to be important too when you're having those meetings, right? We're not here to talk about what the other team did to fail us. We're, giving constructive feedback that says, this is what we're running. Is there language, from a sales perspective, is there language going out that might be causing, this, that, or the other? And, I had a manager one time said, you got a complaint, that's great. It needs to be followed by 2 different alternative suggestions as well, right? So
Yeah.
again, marketing doesn't get to spend more money on marketing and more dollars and make their bonuses unless we're selling stuff, having that as an understanding. And I don't get to sell stuff unless marketing is doing their job. So the idea that we're a conflict kind of seems silly. I understand it because, again, emotions run high. And if I'm doing the things that are, on the top of the list, producing leads and selling jobs, like that's all that should matter. But it doesn't at the end of the day. It's got to be a cohesive unit. So
Yeah.
I'll stress this, right? So take those 3 things, put them into your business this week if you can. I promise you they will help. And if you're in need of some assistance, if you're looking for a partner and you want somebody to help evaluate your current system and maybe more importantly, guide you on how to fix the gaps that could be there, book a call through the link in the show notes here.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're a growing company that wants a marketing partner who actually cares about that cost per acquisition, not the cost per lead, book a powerful audit at powerful.com.
For sure. So look, next week, we're going to talk about the identity crisis that maybe every owner faces at a certain point in time when their business outgrows them. So it will be one you don't want to miss. We want to see you there.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in this week, sticking with us. Love our audience. We take a look at all the comments and the likes and the shares and stuff like that. So if you can do us a favor, ring the bell, subscribe, share with a friend, leave us a comment if you still have questions. We love your feedback.
For sure. Look, and if you found this helpful, like Jay said, maybe you know a friend or a colleague who needs to hear it as well. Please share it with them. We love to hear the impact these shows can make for businesses and the people inside of them when they get the chance to listen.
Yeah. Fitz, always a pleasure, sir. To the listeners, stay relentless.
There you go, man. Happy hunting, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Now get back to work.